Welcome to the 2020 Economic Preparation and Disaster Preparation and Recession Channel. I'm your host, Tony. Thank you once again for joining me today on this beautiful day, July 7th, Tuesday, 2020. Well, it appears that the housing market is going to be going down, crashing very, very soon. As you know, because of this pestilence that is going on, people have been placed the mortgages and the rents have been in forbearance, and that has been for a number of months now. But that is starting to come to an end. As a matter of fact, according to marketplace.org, the U.S. is looking at a tsunami of evictions as the moratoriums or the ceasing or forbearance or delay or forbearance on mortgages and rents expire. As you know, back in March, the unemployment rate soared in big cities all across the nation. States began putting in eviction moratoriums in place to keep people from becoming homeless in the midst of this global sickness. The federal government did too, but only for properties with federally backed mortgages. Now those moratoriums are starting to expire. Already more than a dozen states, including South Carolina, Virginia, Texas, and Wisconsin, have allowed eviction proceedings to resume. By the end of July, most states, more than half of the states, will have no protections for renters, and mortgages will be coming out of deferment or forbearance status. So now we have, as a result of this crisis, health crisis, we have loans that are going to be due at the end of the month, the 31st. Not only that, we're going to be having a housing crunch, but we're also going to be faced with the $600 protections extension of unemployment additional benefits will be ending there or August the 7th in some states who got an extension. So you're going to be faced with a lot, as more than 50 million people have now filed for unemployment benefits in just the last 3 months since this whole thing began. Now, this was part of the CARES Act. If you remember, Congress passed the CARES Act. By the way, Congress is on vacation from this week all the way. They won't be coming back until July 21st. But before they left for vacation, they passed the CARES Act, which is, of course, part of that $1,200 stimulus check and an additional $600 in weekly unemployment benefits from the federal government. That ends July 31st. And according to one expert, he says at this time we will see the true magnitude of missed rent and debt that accrues each month and will continue to accrue and escalate. And he said, Mr. Benford, who's been tracking eviction moratoriums nationwide. I can tell you that states such as California, Illinois, Ohio, New Jersey, states that are already broke, already bankrupt, how would they deal with this additional load on the system, okay? How will they deal with the fact that they're going to have a bunch of people who are going to be in transition, either moving back home with family or friends, or actually just being evicted from their places? As we know that the rental people have to make their payments in spite of the pandemic on their properties that they own as well. Well, if they're not getting paid, if we're not getting paid, how are they going to get paid? It's a domino effect. Now, the Democratic-led House of Representatives, they passed another coronavirus relief package that includes $100 billion in rental assistance, $75 billion in mortgage relief, and another round of $1,200 stimulus payments. And they also voted to extend the $600 weekly federal unemployment checks through January 2021. But as you know, it faces strong opposition in the Senate by the Republicans who have the majority there. And of course, our dear President Donald Trump is against that. So we may or may not see that second stimulus check to give us hope and help after July 31st and into August in this third quarter that many people are banking on to carry us over through the end of this year in the midst of this crisis that's going on. So we have a housing market crash that's going on as a result of this sickness. And to tell you the truth, a lot of people in San Antonio was telling us through reporting. They were saying that they were paying rent right now, and the rental managers, or the property managers, have been very helpful. They were doing payment plans and things of that nature. But the bottom line is that things are going to get worse because families were already struggling to meet ends meet before this crisis. Now you add on top of this, if a person gets sick, if a spouse gets sick, a husband or wife, or a son or a daughter, how are they going to be able to work to contribute toward the household? Is things are going to be suspended? Is all of the payments going to be suspended? Credit cards, student loans, mortgages, rents, forever? They cannot be, because everybody has bills due. It's a revolving circle. Okay. Now, the state of Texas did enact measures to protect renters from evictions as their incomes dried up. But like so many others around the country, that was a temporary solution, and it's going to reach a boiling point. With a crashing housing market, the rental market is going to be heating up for those people who do have money or disposable income to get a place. But at the same time, rents are already increasing as well. So where do these people turn to? Where do we find relief in the midst of this sickness and virus? At the same time, landlords are going to try to seek middle ground, because if no one's able to pay $2,000 or $3,000 for a rental, with everything included, utilities and all that stuff, how are they going to be able to pay their bills? So there's going to eventually be a middle ground reach. Unfortunately for us as consumers, it's still going to be supply and demand, and it's still going to mean that we're going to end up paying more than we should just to have a roof over our heads. And this is going to be the biggest thing. The last two dominoes to fall, my friends, is before this collapse is complete, is the housing market, because you can no longer draw equity out your home. Okay, you can no longer get a HELOC when credit dries up and the housing market dries up. The average U.S. consumer, the middle class, that is the final domino in the straw, along with pensions, of course. But that's going to be decimated when the stock market gradually tanks down, which it is tanking down now, but it's going to continue to tank down through 2021, okay, because that's part of the collapse. So, CNBC.com. I'll leave you with this. CNBC.com says mortgage demand falls for the second straight week, signaling a potential slowdown in the housing recovery. The housing recovery has been slowed down before this outbreak, and I can tell you why. Back in September 2019, check the records, the Federal Reserve was pumping money into the repo market, right? They were pumping $70 to $80 billion a week into the repo market to prop up, to keep this economy going. But at the same time, houses were staying on the market longer. Single family and multifamily houses will stay on the market for 180 days or more, okay, and not selling. So we had this crisis even before this main crisis. Mortgage applications to purchase a home fell for the second straight week, down 1% from the previous week, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association. Refinance demand, the most sensitive to interest rates, fell 2% for the week, but was 74% higher than a year ago. So, the average contract interest rate for 30-year fixed-rate mortgages with conforming loan balances up to 510-400 decreased to 3.29% from 3.3% last week. Investors are contemplating the risk of the resurgence of the sickness bug cases to the labor market and the economy. So we have a weak economy. We have a housing market that is starting to crash and level off. We have a sickness that is not under control. This spells the recipe for disaster, ladies and gentlemen. This is what this sickness, they're going to try to blame it on, but we know the real cause is over-leveraged debt of these cities, counties, states, and the federal government, and over-leveraged consumers spending more than what they have, borrowing money on their house. They're going to be upside down now because they're borrowing money, especially in these high markets like New York, San Francisco. As a matter of fact, their rents are coming down, okay, because people can no longer afford $3,000 a rent with roommates and all of this stuff. In the Silicon Valley, rents are going to be coming down, and I predict rents are going to be coming down in some of these middle class cities, mid-sized cities, excuse me, but not in the major cities just yet, like New York, Chicago, Houston. They're still going to be held up because there are still people there. There's still demand that they can have people that still fill in warm bodies. But once that demand ends and that will be after the housing market crash, and people will be flooding the rental market, and it's no longer the landlord's choice of who they allow in or not. They're going to have to accept anybody because there's going to be so many unemployed Americans that they're going to be willing to lower the price just to have warm bodies in that building, because they have, remember, landlords have bills to pay too. They have mortgages to pay too on those buildings, just like everybody else. And so they're going to be doing that too. But that's going to be after the collapse, and after, I predict, after the elections, when we will see those discounts, okay, going into January, when the collapse is more pronounced, when we will have like over 75 million people unemployed, and they realize, people in the general public realizes that there will be no V-shaped recovery because of the sickness and or otherwise. So stay vigilant, my friends. Continue to prepare. Food, water, medicines is your new currency. Gold, silver, cryptos. If you're into cryptos, get those. And gold and silver, the tangible gold and silver, not the paper stock gold and silver, is your best bet. But have food, water, medicine, any kind of supplies, survival supplies, camping, solar generators, things of that. You're going to need it. We're going to need it because we're in it for the long haul. This recovery, according to most economic experts, is a 10-year recovery, okay? Remember, we never recovered from 2008. We just papered it over. But this time, we're not going to be able to print our way out of this thing. We're looking at a 10-year reset. So I just want everyone to be prepared. We already know what's coming. If you watch my previous videos, you will be aware of what's coming. We've already seen the deflation. We're starting to see the hyperinflation in food and essential services. But deflation is coming in every other arena of this economy once the paper money printing machine levels off. And we know that we're heading toward a new world order, a new economy. Whether that's digital or not is still yet to be seen, but we're heading toward that, and we're heading toward a collapse, a gradual collapse, regardless of this sickness bug. I hope everyone stays safe and stays prepared. Blessings to you. I love this country, and like I said, I will be back with more information with you in the coming days and weeks. Stay tuned.